Today we're going to be exploring the territory of present moment awareness. Present moment awareness not as some sort of state, like a mental state that you have to strain and kind of hold your attention on and keep trying as hard as you can, but a state that you can naturally abide in just by allowing your attention to drift into a territory that's really quite obvious and in plain sight, and so much so that up until now the ego hasn't even found to be particularly noteworthy. So just sort of bringing our attention more or less to the glasses on our face, right? To like that which is the most here and the most obvious. We find present moment awareness, and in that a real relaxation, true rest, true at-homeness, true comfort, and a sense of openness to life, just a willingness to release any sort of held contraction we have about ourselves or against life, so that there can be a very deep and profound inner permission for life to unfold now, in this moment right now, as it is unfolding. This is very nice. So we're going to get into that now. And so this is not going to be a terribly informative talk. I don't have a whole lot of content as such to teach here. Instead, I would like for you to just relax and just absorb this, just take this in. I will be doing my very best to speak from the state of present moment awareness. This is something I've been practicing in my life for the last several years now, although it's one thing to be in it, but it's another thing to be in it and actually talk from it. So it's kind of an interesting challenge. But nevertheless, I'll give it a go. You can probably already feel the texture of it even now. And let's just see what we get. I'll share with you a handful of different techniques and metaphors. My very, very favorite ones, my hardest hitting ones, the ones that get the most bang for your buck, the highest success rate, and hopefully something will click for you. So before we go any further, in case we've never met, if this is our first time talking, my name is Brent. I'm a coach. I am a healer and an intuitive, and the main thrust of my work is to help people align with their purpose, to get a good, direct, clear sense of what they're here to do, and to have the wherewithal to do it in a way that's true and consistent over time, so that we can create for ourselves the most profound possible life. Present moment awareness plays a pretty key role in this, as you might imagine. So I guess I'll start by saying, I'll give a little bit of background about this, not too much, but I don't know where you're at as I share this with you. So you may or may not have already gotten a glimpse of present moment awareness. So present moment awareness itself is a form of awakening where there's something about it that you see, where once you really get a sense of what we're talking about, like, oh yeah, okay, and everything, like all of it just sort of clicks into place. That is an awakening moment. We awaken out of a sort of cultural stupor that the bulk of us live in. Certainly all of us have lived in up until that moment of awakening. And once that's there, then the mission goes from attempting to wake up to integrating that awakening. So taking what you've seen and finding a way to turn it into your life. And so this can often be sort of a weird process because a lot of your priorities change on a dime. A lot of what you thought was important changes. And really, once you get a taste of present moment awareness and the peace that comes from it is so wonderful that it very, very quickly arises as the highest, one of the highest, if not the highest priority around which to orient ourselves. This is what happened to me around 2009, where I was reading The Power of Now. And there was not any one single moment. There's just like, I just kind of read it and I was like, I kind of got it, and I read a little bit more, and then it just came a little bit more online for me over that period, over that year or so. And it became just my highest priority. I was discussing this in an earlier video on my 3 awakening experiences. I was just sharing a few personal stories, and that it just became absolutely necessary for me to learn how to abide from this state that I will be sharing with you now. So in order to access present moment awareness, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss it as if you have not yet really had a true experience of it just yet. But if you have, if you're listening to it and you've already kind of broken into this layer of awakening, then just allow this to deepen that sense for you and to allow you to integrate it a little bit more fully. but I'll just, for the sake of everybody here listening, I'll just speak as if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about. So present moment awareness, we're looking at the obvious, as I was saying earlier. And so the obvious means there's no real way of knowing that time is passing. And what I mean by that is that we we look at things moving in circles, I like to say sometimes. So for example, we watch the sun as it sort of goes, seems to go around the earth as the earth rotates. And we observe the earth going around the sun, and that creates the sense of seasons. And we watch the hands of a clock go around the clock. And so we see things going in circles, and then we count them as they go in circles. We count how many revolutions or how many partial revolutions that planet has made around that body. And we call that the passing of time. So we say, like, when the earth was here, I was there. When the earth was here, I was doing this, and so forth. And so, it's really easy to imagine, just for the sake of argument, that the earth just stood still. Imagine, just the earth just stopped rotating on its axis and it stopped moving around the sun. So no more seasons, no more days. And the sun just stayed like high up in the sky forever. And how would you know time is passing? And then your answer might be, well, we look at the clocks. It's like, okay, let's just take away the clocks for a minute. It's like, okay, how do we know that time is passing? And the truth is that we no longer know that time is passing. And really, instead, all we have are just a series of things happening. Like weeds grow in a garden, then they die, or flowers grow in a garden, then they die. Insects are born and they die. Waves appear on the surface of the ocean. Things just come into being and out of being, and into being and out of being, and into being and out of being. And assuming that we're not counting any of this, and let's just assume that we have no wherewithal to remember any of it, then really all we have is just a perspective where we are observing things coming in and out of being. And so we allow our attention then to just very, very simply drift from the content of everything that we're looking at. And we look at the context in which everything is happening. And as you do, you start to notice that there's sort of a backdrop against which everything happens. And in a way that's rather mysterious, things seem to come from out of it, and they emerge from it and back into it. So a metaphor would be like, say, a sandbox, where like we can make sand castles with the sand in the sandbox. And then of course, eventually the sand castle is subject to collapse because it's a form. So it has a creation date and a destruction date, basically pre-written. And then it goes back into being sand. So in the context of the sandbox, everything comes into being, and then out of being, it just returns to sand. In a similar way, our bodies are made out of earth and elements and atoms, comes into being and out of being, and it goes back into the substrate that it emerged out of. One of my favorite things to observe about things coming into and out of being is that substrate, that out of which things emerge, that substrate is always refreshed. It's always renewed. Like, the sand in the sandbox, it's not like it carries a memory of all of the castles that have been made out of it. As soon as the last sand castle has been destroyed and it returns to just being a little plot of sand, then it's just as new as it was 1,000,000 years ago. So there's, we could call this virgin territory if we were to use this word. It's virgin. It's ever fresh. So this substrate, which of course is deeper than sand and even deeper than the atoms themselves, a construction of even smaller subatomic particles. There's a deep, deep, deep emptiness out of which that makes it possible for anything to exist, without which anything could not exist. A deep nothing. I've heard it referred to as the ground of being. I've heard it referred to as the unmanifested realm, the realm of, say, pure potential. Out of which everything comes. And so that thing, that ground, we can consider to be our primary identity, our primal identity. It's that which is the most you that you are. And it's, of course, the one thing that we all are. Even as a form now, even as a person, with a body and a story, you are also that ground. And that's the element of you that continues to endure even after the death of your body and your personality. There is a core amness. That is what we all are. Amness. As if to say, I am. The wherewithal to say that I am. It strikes me that there's very little that we can really know. You know, it's sort of an epistemological quandary, right? If I look into the sky and if I see a bird, you know, I could philosophize and I could say, do I know that this bird is here? Do I know that? Or really, is it just that I'm getting the input from my eyes that there's a bird there? Is it just my eyes that are telling me that a bird's there? What actually is out there? Because all I have is just what's appearing against my consciousness, what's appearing against my experience. It doesn't tell me for sure what's out there, it just tells me what I'm looking at. Right? This is a really tricky problem to deal with. And so if we're being really technical, it's like, what else is there to know? What else is there that we could possibly know with absolute certainty, you know, at all? And there's only one thing that I'm aware of that I can know for sure, like upon which I would take any bet, which is that I am. I am. I am consciousness. I'm conscious. I'm cognizing this moment. So this part of you is without time, it's birthless, it's deathless, cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. It is outside of time. Time itself is a creation inside of this experience. But the amness is the context in which time appears, which of course is a pretty nutty thing to say, but I think you know what I mean. There's a banger of a line from the Bible. I think Jesus says it. Before Abraham was, I am. Outside of time, I am. Time flows through the now, just in the same way a film strip moves in front of the light. The light is still. The light moves through the frame on the film and projects onto the screen, but the light is still. And the story moves through the light. So notice how it feels to consider allowing that light to move, how it feels to consider allowing the film to move, allowing the story to unfold. Allowing the entire universe to unfold right now. Notice how it doesn't mean we're taking some sort of passive position, we're not giving up responsibility, we're not giving up, nothing like that. Right? Because we're still a part of it. So we have stuff to do, we do it. We have responsibilities, we take care of the responsibilities. In addition to being the character in the play, we are also bearing witness to the play itself. So we still play the character. But even with all that said, just imagine allowing the whole universe, including your character, to unfold now. Imagine seeing it as nothing that has anything to do with you. You can just say to yourself, none of this has anything to do with me. It's not a sign that I'm doing it right, doing it wrong, doing it well, that I'm failing, that I'm succeeding. Just consider the possibility that there is a design. And a deeply intelligent design that is at play now, that is unfolding now. Whatever design it was that gave us the spider's web, that gave us the human blood cell, that design. One way of accessing the now is to bring attention to silence. Whenever we bring attention to silence, it often brings to our attention our addiction to stimulation, to noise, to having something in our ears all the time. Which of course makes a video like this, where I'm speaking like super slowly with all these long pauses, it makes it intolerable. Perfectly understandable, right? Because this is not stimulating, and this is not meant to be interesting. Instead, this is an invitation to fall into the gaps in between the words. A big development in my spiritual journey was at a certain point I was taking in so much spiritual content. It's just like I was just reading and reading and just trying to take it in, just trying to figure it out and get it. I was insatiable with it. And then it at a certain point, it just became clear that there's nothing else for me to read that's new. There's new ways of explaining awakening. There's new concepts behind it, but like there's nothing, like the thing that I'm looking for on the level of content, on the level of reading, cannot be found. Because the reading, if it was worth its salt, if it was good, it would be an invitation to realize the fruitlessness of the reading and to simply dive into the space in between the words. To lose faith in content. Because all of us have faith in content. All of us scroll through TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I create for TikTok, so I've started using TikTok. And you can get into a frenzy of scrolling, looking for something. You don't even know what you're looking for, but you're just looking for it. Or when you're trying to figure out what you're going to watch on Netflix, it's like you're looking for something, looking for it. Is this it? Is this it? Right? And so there's a faith that there's something to find on the level of content, but that cannot be found. Because you are in a hypnosis that has created the belief that the ultimate value can be found in content. And it's that hypnosis itself that is subject to collapse, that you can allow to collapse if you're ready. How do you do that? You just admit there's nothing to find. Admit that you're seeking something. Like it's such a huge development. Even just here, just doing this, just admit that you're seeking. Admit that you're looking. See if you can call to mind, what is it that you're looking for? When you're consuming content, when you're going through the world, what are you looking for? What are you trying to get? What are you searching for? That which the thing that you're seeking, the most precious part of the thing that you're seeking, it's like seeking your own nose. It appears once the seeking stops. Once you allow the truth to arrive, that you're not missing anything. See, we go through our lives with this idea that we're missing something, that something about us needs to be found or corrected. There's some sort of like missing piece, some sort of missing piece of information. And we're looking for it so we can be complete. But that's the lie, that's the hypnosis. Imagine listening to a butterfly speak about themselves this way, right? Imagine a butterfly had a human mind and is talking about how it's like, it's looking for success. It feels like it's behind. It feels like it's not living its life properly. The butterfly's not where he meant to be at this age. He thought he'd be further along by this age. Now the butterfly's already 2 months old. He's an old-ass butterfly. He's on his deathbed. I don't know how long they live. Right? I use the words a lot like psychology and culture because it's just so astonishing to step outside of human culture and just look at our psychological patterns. Look at how we've been entrained on seeking and searching and unworthiness and undeserving, and how we entrain others on it. There's a madness about it. So speaking to you now, the silence that I sometimes describe, it feels more silent now. I feel the presence of this silence even more. It's a very comfortable, loving silence. If there's any part of you that's jittery, looking for something to do with your hands, waiting for this to be over. If there's a part of you even that's maybe enduring this video, God bless you. You can ask now, is this part truly what you are? Because it's an aspect of you. But I guess my argument is that there's an element of you that is already here, that's already present, that's already awake. already knows everything that I'm sharing with you here, right? You'll notice like I've said nothing new, right? Nothing new, nothing that you don't already know. The only thing maybe that's novel about this is that this is an invitation to step into the experience of it. Sometimes questions come up like, okay, well, what do I do? Like, there's nothing to do. There's no particular meaning or necessity behind any of it. What do I do? Well, I've had such a hard time relating to this kind of questioning, right? Like the nihilism behind it, because for me, when I saw that there's nothing of absolute importance that can be done on the level of the drama, right? Like when it became clear to me that there's nothing that I'm missing and nothing that I need and nothing that I must do and nothing terribly heavy or serious about this human life. Then it just became clear that I can just do whatever I want. And when people discuss life being a gift, I mean, this is a really, really hard thing to internalize because like nobody wants to hear about life being a gift. Like it's such a guilt trip when somebody says, "Hey, life is a gift, so enjoy it." Like that's a guilt trip. It's really, generally speaking, a disrespectful thing to say to somebody because most people have a very tumultuous relationship with life. Most people are challenged existentially right now. Like right now, I'm willing to bet 9 out of 10 people, if not more, are challenged with life far beyond what they even thought their capacity was to even deal with challenge. You know what I mean? Like they're dealing with stuff that they had no idea that they even consider they can deal with, if that makes sense. Like everybody's at their edge. Everybody's at their limit. Everybody. So this business of life being a gift is when we really see there's nothing truly that we must do. We don't owe anything to anybody. We're not here to make anybody happy. We're not here to sacrifice ourselves for anything. Everything is truly our choice. Please check out my video called How to Not Be Obligated All the Time. Something about how to not feel obligated all the time, where I speak a little bit more about this specifically. But one of the most important things that I say in that video that I'm sharing here is, it's just, there's nothing here that you have to do, truly. So permission now for life to unfold. Permission now for life to be as it is. Permission now to allow life to be good enough for you. Can you allow this to be good enough? Can you allow this to be okay? Can you just approve of it? Drop your complaints against it. Drop your conflict with it. And I don't mean to say this in a condescending way at all. I have such complete respect for how difficult it can be for all of us. It can be so terribly, extremely excruciating at points. And so at any one of these moments, or even if you're not in a state of excruciation right now, you can look at life and just permit it to be this way. So that at minimum, you're no longer accusing yourself of having gone wrong somewhere along the line. So that at minimum, you can stop generating extra optional suffering on top of what we already have. This suffering coming from this assumption that, everything would be different if I were simply living my life better. And I should have done better. And so therefore, it's my fault that things are the way they are. I have no one to blame but myself, right? So this is like our self-help kind of like hard talk, right? Because we don't want to be victims, right? We don't want to put ourselves in victim psychology. We don't want to be, we don't want to not be responsible, right? We want to be grown-ups. We want to be adults, right? So we take all the blame for everything, right? But this is a misuse of these ideas. Something that almost all of us are unwilling to offer to ourselves, this is such a gift, is I'm doing my best. Somewhere along the line with all the people I work with, groups or one-on-one, somewhere along the line, if we're working together for long enough, I'm gonna make you say it. I'm doing my best. And everybody fights back against it. Everybody, without exception. Nobody's willing to give themselves this gift of I'm doing my best. No, I could have done better, should have done better, I should have known, I should know. I'm not doing my best. I could be doing more. I could be doing more. I could be doing more. Right? This is a lie. And I get where it comes from because we think, because I didn't go to bed completely exhausted and depleted with like blood and sweat and I can still use my joints and I'm not just collapsed in a heaping mess of pure exhaustion. Well, I guess I could have done more, should have done more, right? That's not how that works. It's not how it works. It's just such a harsh and cruel thing to like say to yourself, I should have done more. It's so insulting. It's such an insult. It's such disrespect. You're doing your best. God damn it, you're doing your best. You are. If you could be doing better, you'd be doing better. Whatever that even means, right? We make mistakes, but like we don't know they're mistakes as we're making them, obviously. So then we like go through the thing and then we learn, oh, I see, I made a mistake. And then we do this thing where we go, I should have known. What do you mean you should have known? What does that even mean? You couldn't have known had you not gone through the thing, right? It's really simple, right? You're doing your best. This is culture. So when I say there's madness in our culture, this is the madness in our culture. Just suffering created out of thin air. For what reason? To what benefit? Like how do I benefit from saying I could have done better? Well, then I'll really push myself to do more next time. Okay, well, no. I mean, maybe pushing is not what you need. Maybe you're pushing yourself enough. Maybe pushing is not your value to yourself or the world. There's a time and a place for pushing, fine. But it's not, it's not a very useful tool. So excuse me. I'll conclude my rant. This really was supposed to be just a talk about present moment awareness, but now I'm coaching you. So I hope you enjoyed it. So I think we're wrapping up here. I'll just see if there's anything else I want to share with you here. I guess I just want to clarify one more thing about this really tricky idea of allowing life to unfold. And I want to make it as clear as I possibly can the difference between allowing life to unfold and taking like a passive sort of lethargic stance towards life, and how these are different things, because they really, really are different things. So allowing life to unfold is it's something, here it is, here's the difference, here's the whole thing, okay. Allowing life to unfold is only something that you can do right now, only ever right now. And allowing life to unfold can mean like allowing life to unfold in the form of you doing something like going to the gym or going to work or whatever. Like, if it's time to go to work and life is unfolding such that it's time to go to work, then you allow life to unfold and you're going to work, right? So it's like you're still active and participating and doing, and you're a part of it, and you can do it with like a lot of energy, and like all of that remains on the table. Whereas a passive lethargic kind of stance is something like giving up, where it's like you just take on a new stance of like, I'm not going to try anymore, and then you just don't do anything productive, right? You're not like actually putting anything on the line anymore, not moving out of your comfort zone anymore. That would be a mistake. And that is sort of like you making a declaration about how the remainder of the day or the month or the year or your life is going to unfold, which we don't want to do. So all we're talking about right now is just how is life situated right now? What is life doing right now? Can you just stop fighting it? What is it like to stop fighting life? And what you'll probably notice, what I notice every single time, is that when I stop fighting life, everything improves. And there's something in me that rejoices, that just makes my heart so happy. And there's this movement into simplicity. It's like everything becomes simple instead of confusing and complicated. So that's what it means to allow life to unfold. It's a permission that you grant now and only now. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Join the Sovereign Creators Collective if you want more talks like these, but in such a way where there's dialoguing and live work and Q&A. And if you want to really dig into this, we have an amazing thing going, and you're so totally invited. The link for that is below. If you want a one-on-one session, you can get a free consultation. We can talk it over. Link for that below as well. That is all. Please hit the like button. That's all. Now that's all. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you later.